So what I wanted to do for this one is go over one of the big points of Linux gaming that I think has a win. I haven't quite seen anything on the Windows side that compares to this. So if you're someone like me that has a large library of older games, you know that one of the annoying things that can happen is the fact that scaling your resolution doesn't in your game doesn't always go up to 1080p. And so sometimes you've got to have your monitor change resolution and the game tells your monitor to switch or what have you, or your game just looks messed up for whatever reason and it doesn't quite fit full screen. So when Valve was working on Proton, one of the things that they did is adding a full screen hack. So in essence, what would happen is rather than your monitor changing its resolution, there would be like this pseudo window created like a borderless full screen that would scale the game up to the resolution of your monitor. So you would basically get kind of the same effect visually, except for the fact that you weren't sitting there taking an extra half a second for your monitor to switch resolutions and then go into the game. For a lot of games, there are actually a number of games too that have different settings for when you're in a menu and when you're in game, which in a situation where your monitor has to switch resolutions, it can be somewhat annoying. But this relieves that a little bit. So I've come across a couple things, like I guess AMD has like this fidelity effects, super resolution, whatever feature. And because of the full screen hack, that has been able to be pulled over with other Vulkan games that I guess people are implementing thanks to the full screen hack in Proton. But there's been quite a lot enough time to where not only do we have custom versions of Proton that still have this, but we've been able to pull that full screen hack into standard Wine and use it there as well for our games. So in Steam, I've still got a good number of older games. Now, a good number of them, like Fallout New Vegas, don't need a full screen hack per se to work because they basically already come in 1080p. But you get some like Civ 3, which still doesn't quite work with Proton. It's got a black map rendering issue that I have to deal with, but it scales it up. So if I play Fable, this Fable only goes up to like 900p is like the max that resolution that you can play in game. Basically, no matter your graphics engine that you're using. But basically what happens is normally on like OBS, what would happen is you would have to set the full screen to scale to the canvas, and with a full screen hack like this, I don't need to do that. So if it'll run up any moment now. Okay, so I can continue anyway, that's fine. So, oh, ugly. That's new. Interesting. Let's try it in safe mode. Last time I hit continue anyway and it worked. That was new. So sometimes what you have to do though, it's not always consistent, I've noticed, is sometimes it just creates a separate window that it loads the game into, and then it basically tiles in if you're using a tiling window manager. Kind of depends on your window manager whether it's able to interface in such a way that it like does the full screen thing. Some games are hit and miss that way. Others, I think, depending if you're using a standard desktop environment, it'll just work, basically. Huh. We're gonna pick something else to demonstrate this. And I think this one will actually demonstrate my point of the whole window scaling issue. So Total Annihilation is one of those like old, like late 90s RTSs. And one of the problems that it has is that the menu resolution is basically what? 600 by 480, I think it was. It's one of the really low resolutions. So when it comes up, it basically shrinks the monitor down in Windows down to a lower resolution. And then you can set it up to 1080p for the actual in-game portion, and it will run the game that way. It'll run in 1080p for the rest of the bit for while you're there, but when you're in the outside game menus, it'll basically scale down. It's also got a thing with DirectX, which for years has worked fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of illustrate this and how it works. I'm going to pick, where is it? Yeah, I think that should be a short one. Oh, I love this. Okay, I have to skip the sexy man voice, but so you can see now it's at 1080p and it basically doesn't look okay. Get inside there, come on. Total Annihilation is also like one of those that like you can move them and they'll automatically attack anything that is in their way while they're moving, unlike some of the other games. But yeah, so once we get to the screen, it scales down again, and then we're basically back in the standard low resolution. So FShack or FS hack, the full screen hack works pretty well with it in Proton. So I mentioned that it's been able to be ported to Wine. So in Lutris, you kind of see the same deal where like it scales. There's some of the games that I haven't quite gotten to work quite as well as I'd like to, but I'm going to go with the other one. Let me double check my configuration. So when you're configuring it with your runner options, what you'll do is basically you'll come in and you'll have to have an FS hack wine version picked. So it'll let you know what is what somewhat. Some of them aren't always clear. There are some that specify no. I believe the protonified ones are gonna come with the FS hack standard. Otherwise, the other ones, if it doesn't say protonified, then you're gonna look for the one that says FS hack in essence. So we've got all the standard stuff enabled. For this one, I don't think I even need to have... No, I don't need it to have it offload onto the graphics card. And I think in this case, it basically kills the experience somewhat. I can't remember the game, because some of these games don't do well with... I should probably use the other one instead. Hey, it broke. Dude. Do. I think save. What's your deal? Okay. I know the other one works. Okay. Um let me double check. Configure, runner, cancel. Let's go. Configure, runner, Lutris fshack f.6.10, save, and then we will wine configuration, that's it. Whatever floats your boat, buddy. Okay, so we want, let's not emulate a desktop. Okay. So wine thing is obviously changed a little bit too, so. So you can see it basically does the window thing again. Let's go to the previous screen. So, or that one. So I could set it down to 1050, but I won't. It's not worth it. Okay. So we can go in here. Blah, 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 blah. Let's go with that one. Well, that's not normal. Great. Oh, there we go. Look, it works all of a sudden. Okay. So, not always the best, I guess, you know. So we can do the whole thing and it just does its bit. Yeah. Oh. Exit exit program. Pretty standard stuff. Again, I can demonstrate with Total Annihilation again, but I did the Kingdoms one. One other game that kind of I think demonstrates this pretty well. I believe I configured this already. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So, Arcanum is one of those that basically never scales up. I haven't seen an HD version for this one at all. And so basically it's relying on the full screen hack and all in order to keep it full screen. And it still works pretty well. Load game. Oh, I don't have a one. If I can hit the right thing. Pick a character. Blah, blah, blah. Zephyr. All the in-game FMV sequences work pretty well. No. You're an idiot. Okay, where's my... Okay, there we go. Okay, my fan's making funny noises. But, basically, for those people that, like, play older games, I know Windows has been a problem for a lot of people that way. But I think in this, I think I can justify in this case, if you're like one of those old school game people that likes to play old games, this is a really good option. And plus, with a lot of the support that there is for the older games that way, it's actually runs a bit better because you don't, well, I mean, in some senses, you have to go through and like do compatibility stuff. And it's not just a checkbox, but even then on Windows, it doesn't, well, nothing guarantees that anything will work. But a lot of the older games that I've tried have basically worked flawlessly. I mean, like it just works. Let's go with that. Oh. But yeah, I mean, considering the number of games that there are, if you're like one of those old games enthusiasts, then and you hate the having to change resolutions constantly, the FS hack thing is definitely like an awesome option. And one of the things that it does, and without having to change your screen resolution, means you can have the two monitors set up and work with your stuff without having to think about, oh, is this going to affect like the video or whatever that I'm have going on the other screen or what all. You can just like let it go and forget about it and that kind of a thing. So if you are one of those people that already love it, but you know people that are like into the older games that like are looking for something that will work and they're kind of annoyed by like having to jump through all the hoops in Windows, then you can share this with them and then like show them like what all this does because I could go on and on with stuff. But yeah, you can share it around with those. You can comment, give all those upcomies, and I mean, even if you're feeling that gracious out of your pocket, I do have the money links too that will transfer money from your pocket voluntarily to mine. So yeah, I'll see y'all later.